Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got another great show for you today. It is Thursday, I believe, and Niall is back with us.
I am glad to be back with you, Robby, and it's been a busy week all around, but again, a lot to talk about.
Yes, indeed.
So let's kick us off there. What is on your radar?
Well, the Democratic Party, as viewers well know, is in utter shambles, to borrow a phrase from Elrond of The Lord of the Rings, a reference I have come to understand Niall does not appreciate. The Democratic Party is scattered, divided, and leaderless. Is there one who could unite them? Sports commentator Stephen A. Smith says it's clearly not Kamala Harris. In a recent discussion with Tommy Vitor of Pod Save America, Smith assailed the Democratic Party for failing to listen to what actual voters want. He thinks that the last Democratic candidate who possessed popular legitimacy was Barack Obama. After Obama's 2 elections, Dem elites intervened to handpick the presidential candidates with predictably disastrous results. Let's listen to some of that interview.
Y'all are too busy trying to pick candidates for the American people instead of listening to the American people tell you who they want. The last Democrat that the American people told you they wanted was Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton, it's her turn. Bernie Sanders had momentum. It's Hillary's turn. Joe Biden captured momentum because Representative Clyburn got involved in South Carolina, saved us behind, but it's really his turn, okay? He has no business running for re-election, but everybody went for it, knowing he was supposed to be transitional. He's going to be 81 years of age. Then you sit up there. He doesn't have a primary. Then he goes on the debate stage, embarrasses himself. Then y'all still let him take 3 damn weeks to walk away instead of getting the hell out there immediately so you can see if there's somebody other than Kamala Harris who could be the Democratic nominee. Then she gets the nomination, and everybody wants to act like she's the rock star all of y'all wanted all along. Oh, my God, let's throw up our hands and just to say, hey, she is the one.
The Democratic Party's approach is notably different from the Republican Party's approach. Yes, various facets resisted Trump, and in fact, the party had an actual nominating process in 2024 to see if a different candidate could triumph. This failed because Republican voters want Trump, they need Trump, they demand Trump. The GOP now exists to give its supporters exactly what they want and exactly what they're voting for. You may not like what that is, but it's democracy. Here's Smith making that exact point.
Trump has been around since 2015. They had Christie, they had Kasich, they had Fiorini, I believe her name is.
Yep, Carly Fiorina.
You had, later on, you had DeSantis, you had Nikki Haley, you had Ramaswamy, you had all of these people. It didn't matter. We went through lawfare and all this stuff. It didn't matter. They looked the public in the face and they said, we want him. We don't care what y'all want, and forced the Republican Party to capitulate to the demands of their constituency. That's what they did. The Democrats somehow, some way, have gotten away with ignoring the constituency and compelling the constituency to capitulate to what they want as a party. And that is the problem. And that's why I said it all needs to go. Some of those candidates need to go. The pundits, the strategists, they need to go. Whoever was involved with the latest election, from a strategy standpoint, every one of them should be fired. Every one of them.
Now, I saw this clip going viral on social media, and Smith's remarks were heartily agreed to by just about everybody. By listening to the consultant class, the Democratic Party has made itself irrelevant. Now, maybe that's just temporary. It could certainly rebound. But so long as the party refuses to better understand its voters and then promise to do what they want, it will remain lost. The fact that Stephen A. Smith is stating this so eloquently and with so much fire is interesting. The Republican Party has obviously been well served ultimately by turning to a figure from the world of celebrity and entertainment. One really can't help but wonder whether Smith himself could have a future as a Democratic candidate. Now, he has repeatedly shot down this rumor, but the rumor is spreading that he could run for president. Now, as recently as Monday, he did say he would not run, although he added that if he thought he had a really good shot, it's something he would consider. He also said that Kamala Harris better not run. It's not clear if he'll get his wish or not. Kamala Harris reportedly signed with a talent agency, the same one that represents former President Barack Obama, this week. There's widespread media speculation that she might enter the 2026 California gubernatorial race, in which she would be the clear frontrunner, whether she plans to use that perch as a stepping stone to another presidential run remains anyone's guess. And Niall, I was reminded over the weekend that so Nixon is the vice presidential candidate or vice president under Eisenhower, runs for president in 1960, is defeated, then runs for governor of California, actually loses that race. You think that's over for him, then runs for president again and becomes president. Kamala Harris could follow that exact same trajectory.
Following in Richard Nixon's footsteps. I'm sure that's a record she would be delighted to try to avoid claiming. Even.
Unlike Richard Nixon, I suspect she would win governor of California
I think
quite
she
easily.
would.
But
was it when Nixon lost the governorship? Was that when he gave the speech? That
you won't have Nixon to kick around anymore.
Right, all of that.
8 years later, he was in the White House.
He was president. So look, as for Stephen A. Smith, I think he's a talented commentator, and I thought that was a good example of why he's a talented commentator, because he is right about significant numbers of things he says, and I think he also, though, blurs out a lot of the nuance or complexity more recently. So he was right that clearly the DNC put a thumb on the scales to help Hillary Clinton back in 2016 against Bernie Sanders, for example. He's right to say that Barack Obama, particularly first time around in 2008, elicited enormous excitement from not just the Democratic Party, but the liberal grassroots as a whole. The problem is when he gets into 2024, like he starts talking about, oh, they could have got rid of Biden faster than 3 weeks. I don't really know how that.
No, not without Biden's willing participation.
Exactly. And then he starts talking about how, it then fell to Kamala Harris because it was her turn. I know what he means, but like, who was going to beat her at that point?
Right.
The original sin, as it were, in that cycle was Biden running for a second term. And once that decision was made, you were kind of all the way down that track. I do also think, as far as Stephen A's comments are concerned, one of the things that I think is an understandable sort of trait when these characteristics or conversations come up is assuming that there is just a 2007, 2008 version of Barack Obama waiting somewhere in the wings to be shepherded in to save the Democratic Party. That figure doesn't exist. I mean, that's why Biden was able to run for a second term without any really serious challenger coming forward. It's why whenever that disastrous debate happened, it sort of fell to Kamala Harris and there wasn't any really, really compelling alternative. So that's the problem with Stephen A's analysis in part. Other parts of it, I think, were completely correct.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I agree with basically everything you just said. I do think some more liberal, progressive, or left-leaning people who are hostile to the Democratic Party would put more blame on the Democratic Party itself for creating that situation. I think they might, point to examples like Jerry Connolly getting it over AOC to do the oversight role. Yeah. That this is not a party that rewards or gives opportunities to fresh and new talent anyway. So maybe there is another Barack Obama out there somewhere, but it would be so hard for them to even emerge because there's just this, you got to wait in line for 50 years before the party leadership takes you seriously.
Yeah, and the congressional leadership in particular, up until very recently it was Pelosi, Clyburn, Charles Schumer is still there, of course, as the Senate Democratic leader, people who are of mature years, to say the least.
I do think it's interesting, to compare him, Stephen A. Smith, someone who is not from within inside politics. As I said, that has worked out so well for the Republican Party to look to what skills are comparable to the actual skill of running for president, of speaking to crowds, of energizing people. That's a skill set that overlaps with the kind of skill set Donald Trump had and someone like Stephen A. Smith has. I understand he's not very political, and I saw left people talking about him on Twitter like, well, what is his economic views? Does he support Medicare for all? We have no idea. That's all we care about.
Right.
So that would have to be worked out, but I don't know. I think he could do something if he decided to.
If he wants to do it, and it's not just a publicity move, he's welcome, give it a go, but obviously he will come under much more scrutiny and people will want to know such basic things as what he actually believes.
Yes, indeed. Next up, the jabs between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky continue. We will discuss.